Here we go. Welcome to Fundamentals of Kabbalah and Chassidut, continuing our series on mysteries of creation. As promised, we are going to continue learning from the Sefer Yetzirah. We started last week and we got through the first Mishnah. So I'm just going to review it, and especially for people who were not here with us. I do want to explain why are we going to be learning from the Sefer Yetzirah. That is because this is the oldest Kabbalistic text, and it's basically about the foundations of creation, the 10 Sfirot and the 22 letters, the building blocks of creation. And the Sefer Yetzirah is the first text that we have that delves in to the Sfirot and the letters. And it makes it clear right from the beginning, B'shloshim u'shtayim netiva pliot chachma, with 32 wondrous paths of wisdom. And then it says, Ubara et olamo, and he created his world. The 32 pathways of wisdom, as we've learned, are the 10 Sfirot and the 22 letters. And the first Mishnah ends with it saying, Ubara et olamo, b'shlosha sfarim, that God created his world with 3 books, B'Sefer, B'Svar, U'B'Sipur, with literally a book, a number, and a story. We explained last time, and I'll repeat here again, that the Sefer with a book means with the text, meaning the form of the letter. The Svar is the number of the letter, which of course is the numerical value of each letter. And the Sipur, the story, is the name of each letter. This is how Rav Ginsburg explains the 3 books in relationship to the letters. Now, what we did not mention last time, though I think it got mentioned in the discussion group afterwards, something that I should have made clear, and I will now, is when it says that God created his world with 3 books, and then the 3 books that are given are all the same root, Sefer, Svar, and Sipur. But what I didn't mention is almost the obvious thing. This is the same root as Sfirot, as the Sfirot. And that's the significance here, because this entire text, the Sefer Yetzirah, is about the 10 Sfirot and the 22 letters. And therefore, it is considered not only the first of Kabbalistic text, but in a sense, the most fundamental, because it gives over such basic ideas of Kabbalah that appear in every other Kabbalistic sefer, every mystical understanding of the Torah is already laid out in the Sefer Yetzirah. In short, because it's actually a very short text, very short, but its influence has been enormous, doesn't even do it justice. So that is why we are going to be going through this. As I explained, we're not going to go Mishnah by Mishnah and go into great depths. We have been doing this series for many, many, many weeks. And my purpose here is just to introduce everyone to the teachings of the Sefer Yetzirah, and especially in relationship to everything that we've learned about the mysteries of creation. Because that's why it begins with 32 wondrous pathways of wisdom. This is the wonders of creation, the mysteries of creation. So I just reviewed the first Mishnah, and what I'm going to be doing is I've picked what I feel are the most important ones for an overview. That is our purpose here, just to give an overview. So now we're going to the second Mishnah of the first chapter. And I'm going to, in most cases, unless it's very long, I will read it in Hebrew and in English. So the second one says, Eser Sfirot Belima, Ve'esim Mishtayim Otiyot Yesod. So it says 10 Sfirot. Now in Hebrew, the word is Belima, which Aryeh Kaplan translates as nothingness. It literally is Belima, is without essence. Now, of course, the Sfirot are full of essence, but the idea here is the Sfirot is nothing concrete. The letters are written in the Torah. They're very concrete. We have many diagrams of the Sfirot, but the Sfirot in essence are Belima. Later in the Sefer Yetzirah, it says, Tola ha'oretz al Belima. He hung the world on nothingness. And some explain that this is an understanding of Sefer Yetzirah, that the earth was in orbit, surrounded by Belima, nothingness. The Mishnah, and then it says in 22 foundation letters. So in other words, already the Sefer Yetzirah is telling us that the letters are the foundation of all creation, of everything. And the Sfirot are more ethereal, The second Mishnah continues, and this Mishnah is the foundation of the whole rest of the book. It says, Shalosh imot, there are 3 mothers, Usheva kfulot, and 7 doubles, Ushtem esrei pshutot, and 12 simple ones. What is this talking to? And like I said, as we go through, you'll see that this colors the whole rest of the book. It proposes that the 22 letters are divided into 3 different groups. There are 3 mother letters, Aleph, Mem, and Shin. We're not going through every Mishnah, but following this, it starts talking about the Aleph, the Mem, and the Shin. These are called the mother letters. As we'll see shortly, the Mem is Mayim, the Shin is Eish, the Mem is water, the Shin is fire, Eish, and the Aleph is Avir, is air. So that's the second Mishnah. Like I said, this book is very short. The commentaries can be extensive. They are extensive. But already the Sefer Yetzirah is telling us that the rest of the book is going to be delving into the division of the letters into 3 mother letters. I didn't explain. The 7 double letters are 7 letters that have 2 pronunciations. Bet and vet. Gimel, and the Yemenites know Gimel. The Dalet actually has 2. So that's Bet, Gimel, Dalet. Chaf and Kaf. Pei and Fei. Reish actually has 2 pronunciations. and Tuf and Suf. These are called, the double letters. And the 12 simple letters are all the other letters that are not the 3 mothers and the 7 doubles. Those are called the 12 simple letters. Okay, wait 1 second here. I did want to show this again. This is the classic chart of the 10 sfirot and the 22 connecting lines. Each one of these is a letter that connect the sfirot. So here you have the 22 letters and the 7 sfirot. Now here, there's something incredibly important here. You'll notice that there are only 3 horizontal lines. These are your 3 mother letters. This is the Shin, this is the Mem, and this is the Aleph. Then we're going to see that there are exactly 7 I'm thinking of the, what's the word? It escapes me now. What's the opposite of horizontal is whatever, senior moment, sorry. Anyways, you have exactly 7 vertical, thank you. You have exactly 7 verticals. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. These are the double letters. And then you'll have 12 diagonals. These are the 12 simple letters. So you see that this chart it's very, very organized between the relationship between the letters and the sfirot. Here you have, Avram just posted all of the 12 simple letters, so everyone can see them. Okay. One second. Okay, the fifth Mishnah, Mishnah shows how the 10 sfirot are also connected to the dimensions that are about to be revealed in the Sefer Yetzirah, along with the division of letters into 3, 7, and 12. We have one other major concept that runs through the entire book, and that's called Olam, Shana, and Nefesh. Olam is world, meaning space. Shana is year, meaning time. And Nefesh means soul or consciousness. These are what are called the 3 types of dimensions mentioned in Sefer Yetzirah. Now, this is something that we've discussed many times in many different contexts, that space has 3 dimensions. Time has 1 dimension, and Nefesh has 1 dimension. So in other words, there are 5 dimensions. Einstein was the one who revealed time as a dimension. Until then, everyone only spoke about 3 dimensions: the spatial dimensions of height, width, and length, and they go in both directions. Height is a vortex of 2. Width has 2 sides, and length, and length has 2 sides. Time, in a sense, also has past and future. And soul has good and evil. So in the 5th Mishnah, it mentions like this: Eser Sfirot B'lima, there are 10 Sfirot of nothingness. Eser She'en Lehem Sof, there are 10 that have no end. Omek Reshit v'Omek Acharit, there is a depth of beginning and a depth of end. This is obviously the dimension of time. Omek Tov ve'Omek Ra, there's a depth of good and there's a depth of evil. This is connected to soul and consciousness. This is the dimension of nefesh. And then it goes through the other dimensions: a depth of above, a depth of below, a depth of east, a depth of west, a depth of north, a depth of south. And then it says, Adon Yachid El Melech Ne'aman, Moshel B'Kulam, Mima'on Kadsho Ad Ade Ad. A singular master, God, a faithful king, dominates over them all from his holy dwelling until eternity of eternities. In other words, the 5 dimensions, 3 of space, 1 of time, and 1 of consciousness, they have 2 vortexes. So those are the 10 sfirot. The 10 sfirot represent all the dimensions of reality. But it ends by saying that God rules over all these, but he is dominating from his holy dwelling, meaning that God is immanent, but also transcendent. Now, these again are concepts we've talked about many, many, many times, but here we have the source. As I said in the beginning, the Sefer Yetzirah is the source of so much of everything that we learn. Okay, give me 1 second here. Okay, now Rabbi Aryeh Kaplan explains that how the 10 sfirot work with these different depths: the depth of beginning, the depth of end, the depth of good, the depth of evil, and then the depth of east-west, north-south, above and below. So he explains like this: the beginning is Chochmah, the end is Bina. And I'm not going to go into explanations right now. Good is Keter, evil is Malchut. Above is Netzach. Now, the 6 that we have now are connected to the way we shake the lulav. Above is Netzach, below is Hod, north is Gevura, south is Chesed, east is Tiferet, and west is Yesod. this is how we shake lulav, to these 6 directions. Again, for those people who came on late, our purpose here is not to delve into the depths of each one of these. Our purpose here is an overview. Our purpose is an overview. Okay, now we are going to the 2nd chapter. The rest of the 1st chapter deals with different aspects of the Sfirot. The 2nd chapter already starts to describe and go in depth into the letters. So now I'm going to read the 2nd Mishnah of the 2nd chapter. Esri Mishtayim Otiyot Yesod. Every place they're called 22 letters of foundation. Chakakan, Chatzvan, Sarfan, Shaklan, Bahamiran. V'tzar behem et kol hayitzur ve'et kol ha'atid latzur. Now, when you hear the translation, you'll understand how important the Sefer Yetzirah is. So it says like this: 22 foundation letters. He engraved them, he carved them, he permuted them, he weighed them, he transformed them. And with them, he depicted all that was formed and all that would ever be formed. So this is explicitly giving over the idea that all of creation is nothing more than a combination, a manifestation, a engraving of the letters into reality. This is the source of this concept that we've mentioned in different series over and over again, the idea that the 22 letters are the building blocks of creation, but this is the source. Here we're learning the source. And the verbs here, we're going to see how important they are, because this forms the basis of the whole art of called siruf otiot, permuting the letters. For those who went through the series of 70 faces, know how important the idea of permuting the letters and the acronyms and the Roshei Tevot and the Sofei Tevot and additional letters and missing letters and big letters and small letters. All of this is contained in these verbs. He engraved them, he carved them, he permuted them, he weighed them, he transformed them. And with them, he depicted all that was formed and all that would ever be formed. One of the greatest Kabbalists, Avram Abulafia, based on these ideas, created an entire system of Jewish meditation based on permuting the letters. And again, for those who went through the 70 faces, we touched on these ideas many, many, many times. The art and the wisdom, when you have a 3-letter root and you permute them, you start to get more and more understanding of the words that we're dealing with. So again, here is the source of these ideas. Now, the next one, and we'll see in a second, is a very, very foundation of Kabbalah, but it's also a foundation of the Hebrew language, along with being what is usually referred to as the first text of Kabbalah. Many people also refer to it as the first book of Hebrew grammar, the first book of Hebrew linguistics. So in the third, it gives over how the 22 letters come from 5 different places in the mouth. And the important thing is when letters come from the same part of the mouth, Kabbalistically, they can be exchanged for other letters in that set. And the sages in the Talmud do this all the time. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of examples where they say, don't read it this way, read it that way. And what do? They take one of the letters of the set coming from a certain place in the mouth, which we're going to explain right now, and they exchange it. So here's what it says on the inside. Esim v'shtayim otiyot yesod. Again, it starts 22 letters of foundation. Chakakan bakol. He engraved them with voice. Chatzvan beruach. He carved them with breath. Kavan bepeh. And he set them in the mouth. Bechamisha makomot. 5 places. Now this is, it's actually it's human physiology. These Kabbalistic ideas are based at letters. We form letters from 5 places in the mouth. So the first is Aleph, Chet, Hey, and Ayin. These all come from the throat. When you say Aleph, Chet, Hey, and Ayin, it's coming from the back of the throat. The next ones are what are called the palatals. Gimel, Yud, Chaf, Kuf. Again, Gimel, Yud, Chaf, and Kuf. Because when you say those letters, your tongue is touching the palate of the mouth. The next ones are called the linguals. And this is where the letters are being formed from the front of the palate near the teeth. And these are Daled, Tet, Lamed, Nun, Tav. Again, anyone, you can Google these. If I'm going too fast for you, which I may be, these could be Googled. You could just Google 5 places in the mouth where Hebrew letters come from. And you'll get many different sites that you'll be able to follow in a slower manner. So those were called the linguals. The next ones are called the dentals because they're coming from the front of the mouth, the teeth. These are Zayin, Samach, Shin, Resh, and Tzadi. And the last ones are coming from the lips. Those are called the labials. And this is Bet, Vav, Mem, and Pe. Bet, Vav, Mem, and Pe. Now, when you go over these, like I said, this is human physiology. But what the Sefer Yetzirah is saying, that because they're coming from the same place in the mouth, they share meaning. So therefore, you have a certain word that has, let's say, an aleph. Many times, again, the sages use this all the time to explain deeper meanings. They'll exchange it with an ayin, and that will form a different word, but we're going to see that those 2 words are very connected, very connected. So I admit we went through this quickly, but I've told everyone where you can find this. And you can also try Googling just the 2nd chapter, the 3rd Mishnah. So that's important because this, again, is the source of so many different ideas in Sefer Yetzirah. Now, the next one that we're going to do is one second. Is the Fourth Mishnah. And I'll read it in Hebrew. Eser Mishtayim Otiyot Yesod. 22 letters of foundation. Kav'an Bigalgal. He placed them in a circle. Kamin Choma. Like a wall. Reish Lamed Aleph Sha'arim, with 231 gates. I'll explain that in a second. The Chozera Galgal Panim V'Achor, and the circle oscillates back and forth. B'siman l'devar, and a sign of this is Ein b'tova l'mala be'oneg, ve'ein b'ra'a l'mata min nega. So before I explain that, I'm going to go back and explain. It says that God took the 22 letters and formed them in a circle, like a wall with 231 gates. Now, I'd like everyone to look at this. Okay, this is the circle that the Sefer Yetzirah is talking about. And here you see the letters, Aleph, Bet, Gimel. He placed them in a circle with 231 gates. What are these gates? If you look at the Aleph, there are 21 lines coming out. The first line goes to the Bet. The second line goes to the Gimel. The third line will go to the Dalet. In short, each one of the 22 letters will be connected by a line to the other 21. When you multiply 22 times 21, you get 462. Meaning there are 462 connections. Each of the 22 letters is connected to each of the other 21. 22 times 21 equals 462. But each gate, these are called gates. The Aleph to the Bet is called the gate. The Aleph to the Gimel is called the gate, etc. But there's only one line. So that's what it means in the Mishnah. There are 231 gates. Each line is a gate. Now, this is a visual concept of permuting the letters. But this is just one letter with another letter. What happens, for those who have been following this series, so we were delving into the different permutations of the word Bereshit. Now, the Bereshit has 6 letters. So with 6 letters, we're going to see this tonight, you can make 722 combinations. 6 letters make 720 combinations. So this, in the Sefer Yetzirah, they're like developing this idea. And remember, the Mishnah we just learned, it says that God, with the Hebrew letters, created everything that ever was created and everything that would in the future be created, all through combinations of Hebrew letters. This is very, very similar, like Avram just posted, very simple. Aleph to Bet is a gate, and then Bet to Aleph is a gate, but it's working in the opposite direction. So there's 462 combinations and 231 lines. And then the Mishnah ends with an example. This is probably the first example of a permutation. And it says, V'siman l'dvar. It says, I'll give you a sign, what I'm talking about. Ein b'tova l'mala mi oneg. There's nothing higher than oneg. Oneg means pleasure. Oneg is 3 letters. Ayin, Nun, Gimel. The Ein bara lamata Nega. But if you take those letters and you switch them around, you get the word Nega, which means a plague. So there's nothing higher than pleasure and nothing lower than a plague. So after COVID-19, it's not after, it's still happening, unfortunately. We have an idea of a plague in our generation. But this is an example of a permutation. Nega, oneg, same letters, just permuted. So this is how God creates everything in reality, in all of the worlds, the physical world and all the spiritual worlds, through a combination of letters. Now we are going to the 3rd chapter. The whole 3rd chapter is about those 3 mother letters that we learned about in the beginning. For those people who came in late, the Sefer Yetzirah divides the 22 letters into 3 groups: 3 mother letters, 7 double letters, meaning 7 letters that can be pronounced in 2 different ways, and 12 simple letters. Now already we can hear these 3 numbers are super symbolic throughout Jewish tradition. The idea of 3, 7, and 12. These numbers come up all the time, but now we're going to see the source for many of these concepts. So in the 3rd chapter, it says like this, and this is where we're going to introduce the next important foundational idea that we already said, but this Mishnah now, 3rd chapter, 3rd Mishnah, is the idea of Olam, Shana, and Nefesh, as we're going to learn right here. Shlosh imot, there are 3 mother letters. Aleph, Mem, Shin. Those are the 3 mother letters. Chakakan, Chatzvan, Sarfan, Shaklan, Bahamiran. Vitzar behem shlosh amot, Aleph, Mem, Shin. He engraved them, he carved them, he permuted them, he weighed them, he transformed them, and with them he depicted Emesh Ba'olam. In other words, these 3 letters, Aleph, Mem, and Shin, will manifest in worlds, as we're going to see in a second. The 3 mothers also manifest themselves in Shana, in the year, and 3 mothers manifest in the soul. And then it ends, Zachar v'Nekeva, male and female. Now this is the first place in Sefer Yetzirah that mentions male and female, and it will repeat it throughout the rest of the book. Many, many times when a concept is introduced, it will say Zachar v'Nekeva, male and female. Now the important thing about this is that when learning the Zohar, we see, and here it's not explained it's not explained explicitly why it's saying Zachar v'Nekeva. But since God is creating everything in the universe with the Hebrew letters, what it's telling us is that these two concepts of Zachar and Nekeva, male and female, feminine and masculine, these are energies that manifest on every level of creation. And it wasn't until the Zohar that these concepts were expressed in a very open way and in a way that we come to understand that the energies of masculine and feminine are the energies of giving and taking, of what's called running and returning, extrovert, introvert, AC, DC, coming, going, up, down. In other words, in a sense, all of the opposites in the world are a manifestation of these two energies called Zachar v'Nekeva, male and female. This is where it's first introduced. That's the importance of this. Now, we're going to continue. And because here it just says that these three letters are manifest in worlds, in space, time, and soul. So now it goes on and explains. Shlosh amot aleph mem shin ba'olam. So what is the manifestation of these three letters in the world, in space, in physical reality? And it explains avir, mayim, eish. The aleph is avir, which is called sometimes breath, sometimes spirit, sometimes air. Mayim is water. Eish is fire. Shemayim nivra'u me'esh. Heaven was created from fire. The aretz nivra mimayim, and the earth was created from water. Va'avir meruach machriya beinehem, and air from breath mediates between them. Now, a very, very interesting thing here is that in Sefer Yetzirah, there's no mention of earth. Here it mentions earth, but not as one of the four elements. We've discussed many times the idea of fire, air, earth, and water, the four elements. But interestingly enough, Sefer Yetzirah only deals with three of them. Here it says the earth is created from water. Now, the water here that we're talking about is more than just the physical water that we know. And that's why here it says that heaven was created from fire. But the word heaven itself is shin mayim, is fire and water. So water here represents more the idea of materialism, of physical reality. And that's why the earth, it says, comes from water. Water is considered a more primordial concept. And that's why in physics today, when they discuss what happened after the Big Bang, so they mentioned that when matter began to expand from the Big Bang, in its early manifestation, it was called like plasma. In other words, it was like reality was like liquid because atoms couldn't even form. The matter was so hot, it could not solidify. Only when reality expanded and cooled, could atoms start to be formed, and then molecules, and then what we call physicality. So this water that we're talking about is like a primordial substance. But here is the beginning where it says fire is heaven, and fire is the shin, water is the mem, and air is the aleph. So in the next one, it continues. Shlosh emot, the three mothers, emesh b'shana. So that now we explain how the three letters manifest in the world, in space: fire, water, and air. But what about in time, in shana? So here it says, chom, kor, revaya. Heat, cold, and temperate. Chom nivra be'esh. Heat was created through fire. This is summer. Kor nivra b'mayim. Cold was created from water. This is winter. This is time. We go through the seasons through time. Summer, fall, winter, spring. Rivaya miruach machriya b'neihem. And the aleph is the temperate, which is spring and fall. What's interesting, in most of the world, we talk about 4 seasons. And it's true, there are 4 seasons. But with Sefer Yetzirah, in Eretz Yisrael, there's really 2 seasons, and 2 seasons that are much shorter, that mediates between them. For those who live in Israel or have been in Israel, summer is very long and winter is very long. Spring and fall here are very short. In other words, from winter to summer, there's a shortened season. And from summer to winter, there's also a shortened season called autumn. And that's where the weather is more temperate. But most of the year is either hot or cold. And that's what Sefer Yetzirah is pointing out, because it's based in Israel. So now we have the 3 letters, aleph, mem, and shin, how they manifest in the world, how they manifest in time. And the last one is, how does it manifest in nefesh? Now, nefesh here means also body. I just want to show something again. So I'm going to read this. And it says, Shlosh amot, aleph, mem, shin, benefesh. These 3 letters now manifest in nefesh. Zachar v'nekeva, masculine and feminine. Rosh ubeten v'gevia, head, belly, and chest. Rosh nivra me'esh. The head is created from fire. Ubeten nivra me'mayim. And the belly is created from water. And the chest is created from air, and it mediates between them. Okay, now remember the chart that we showed before. And I said that the three horizontal lines are the three mother letters. Now here we just learned that fire created head, and this is the shin. This letter that connects Chachma and Bina is the shin. That's the head. That's created from fire. The belly is created from water. Now I'm just going to go back here because now we actually know that the way that the brain works, it's basically like an electric conduit system. Our thoughts are created by electric impulses that jump between the synapses. The brain is quite literally fire. That is what it is. The belly, this is the mem. This letter connects Netzach and Hod. And because the belly, digestion is liquid, it's water. That's how digestion works. And here, this is called the chest. This is the Aleph. This is between Chesed and Gevura. And that's where the lungs are. So here we see very, very clearly the Aleph, the Mem, the Shin, the Mem, and the Aleph as they manifest in the Nefesh. So just to review this, we saw that the three letters, Aleph, Mem, and Shin, relate to heaven, earth, and everything in between. That's in Olam. In Shana, we see it's Aleph, Mem, and Shin are the seasons. The Shin is summer, fire. The Mem is water, winter. And the Aleph is spring and fall that mediate between the two. So that's the basics of the third chapter. Now we will do one more, as we started late, so I want to finish a full class here. The fourth chapter of Sefer Yetzirah is dedicated to the 7 double letters. So you can see this text is very organized. The first chapter is the concept of the Sfirot. The second is the basic concept of the letters. The third chapter are the 3 mother letters. Now we're going to do the fourth chapter, which are the 7 double letters. The 5th chapter will be the 12 simple letters. And the 6th chapter is kind of puts it all together on a whole different dimension. So it's very, very organized. So the 4th chapter reads like this: Sheva Kfulot, and here are the letters. The 7 double letters are the Bet, Gimel, Resh, Daled, Chaf, Pei, Resh, and Tav. These are the 7 letters that have 2 pronunciations. Now, 2 of them, most of us are not familiar with, because we don't have the fine tuning of Hebrew that we once had. But the ones like Bet and Vet, Chaf and Kaf, Pei and Fei. So these are the ones that we're more familiar with. But all 7 of them in, we'll call it ancient Hebrew, and especially with the Yemenites, they still have a very strong tradition of pronouncing them different depending on the context in which they come. So the beginning of the 4th chapter is that there's 7 double letters: Beit, Gimel, Daled, Chav, Pei, Resh, Tav. mit nahagot b'shtei lushonot. And that's what it says. They operate, or they direct themselves with two types of pronunciation. And it goes through, like we just did, bet and vet, gimel and jimel. That's why, like the Yemenites say, borei priha jafen, because they have the tradition of that's the proper way to pronounce that gimel in that word. And then it says, tavnit rach b'kasheh gibor v'chalash, that these pronunciations are called soft and hard. And this holds in Hebrew grammar and linguistics to this day. And strong and weak. That's how these letters, for people who teach grammar and linguistics, they use these terms to this day. So this introduces the beginning of the seven double letters. Now, in the fourth Mishnah of the fourth chapter, it gives over an incredibly important concept that we, in all the different classes, and I'm saying we because many people who are watching have gone through, we're a couple years now of different classes, but you'll recognize this immediately. Sheva kfulot, 7 double letters. Bet, Gimel, Daled, Chav, Pei, Resh, Tav, Mala, V'mata, Mizrach, Umarav, Safon, V'darom. So here, it now connects them to the 6 directions. It just mentioned, it says up and down, east and west, north and south. Now listen to this. V'heichel HaKadosh mechon be'emtza. And the holy palace precisely in the center. V'hu nosei et kulam. And it supports all of them. Now what does this mean? This is what we've discussed many, many, many times with the idea of what Rav Ginsburg calls, and he has an entire book called Living in Divine Space. And this is the secret of shaking lulav. Exactly what it says, up and down, east and west, north and south. We shake to 6 directions. But how do we shake? We hold the lulav close to the heart, and then we shake out and we bring it back. We shake out and we bring it back. So this is, and we shake to the 6 directions, but each time we come back to the middle. These are the 7 double letters. 6 of them are the vortexes of space, but the middle is what holds it all together. And this is a concept we've talked about many, many, many times. And this is the secret of, just give me a second. This is just one example. This is the secret of the Magen David, where the Magen David has actually 6 outer triangles, but it has an inner space as well. These are the 6 days of creation, as we've discussed in this series, and this is Shabbat. But this is the way we shake lulav also. But it's not exactly a Magen David, but we shake to above and below, and then east and west and north and south. But each time we draw back to the middle. So this is a concept that we've discussed many, many times. If you remember in the beginning of this series, we discussed how the first word of the Torah has 6 letters, to represent the 6 days of creation, but it has 7 words. And the 7 words includes the Shabbat in the middle. And as we learned that one of the permutations of Bereshit, the first word is actually Yirah Shabbat, the awe of Shabbat. So here we see in the Sefer Yetzirah, we see that it's connected to these 7 letters. This concept that we see all the time, that space has 6 vortexes. It's a cube. A cube is 6-sided, but the inside of the cube, that's what Sefer Yetzirah says, that holds up the whole thing. Okay, now, and with this we'll end this evening. But the next 3 are going to explain how the 7 letters that we're talking about manifest in Olam, Shana, and Nefesh. So this is the 6th Mishnah, and it says like this: Sheva Kfulot. There are 7 double letters: Bet, Gimel, Daled, Chaf, Pei, Resh, Tav. Yesod, the foundation letters. Hakakan, Chatzvan, Sarfan, Shaklan, Vahamiran. He engraved them, he carved them, he permuted them, he weighed them, he transformed them. But Sarbehem, and with these 7 letters, he formed Sheva Kochavim Ba'olam. Now we're going to see how does the 7 manifest in the world. So we have to understand, in the ancients, when they looked at our solar system, at that point they did not take into account Pluto, Uranus, and let me see, what is the other ones? Which one is it not doing? Sorry. Neptune. Those were not considered part of the solar system. There were 7. It was considered a system of 7. So it says like this. So with these 7 letters, God created the 7. Here it says stars, but it really means planets, the 7 planets of our solar system. Sheva Yamim, he created 7 days of the week, that's Shana. And Sheva Sharim B'Nefesh, and 7 gates in the soul, Zachar V'Nekeva. That he's going to explain in the next Mishnah. So here again, we have Olam, Shana, and Nefesh. So we see that the whole book of Sefer Yetzirah are the 10 Sfirot, the 22 letters, which are divided into 3, 7, and 12, as they manifest in worlds, in space, time, and soul. That's the whole book. The whole book. That's like in short. So the next one is more detailed. That is like this. Sheva Kochavim Ba'olam. What are the 7 planets in the world? Shabbatai is Saturn. Tzedek is Jupiter. Ma'adim is Mars. Chama is the sun. Noga is Venus. Kochav is Mercury. Lavana is the moon. In the ancients, that was the solar system. Sheva Yamim B'Shana, what are the 7 days of time? So it says very simply, Shivat Yemei Shavua, the 7 days of the week. And what are the 7 gates of the soul, Sheva Sharim B'Nefesh. Again, Zachar V'Nekeva, masculine and feminine. Shtei Einayim, 2 eyes. Shtei Oznaim, 2 ears. Shnei Nikavei Ha'af, 2 nostrils. The peh, and the mouth. The 7, what I call the 7 gates of the soul are the 2 eyes, the 2 ears, the 2 nostrils, and the mouth. So now we've seen the 7 letters manifest in space, time, and soul, in the planets, in the days of the week, and the gates of the nefesh, of the head, of consciousness, of the soul. The 4th chapter continues, and what it does now is it takes each of the letters and it goes in order. The bet is with the bet, God created the moon. And Sunday, meaning Yom Rishon, and the right eye. And then it goes through the Gimel. Through the Gimel, he created Mars, Monday, and the right ear. The Daled, with the Daled, it's important the way I'm saying it. It's not like the sun represents or is symbolized by the Daled. What it's saying is with the energy of the letter Daled, he created these different things. So with the Daled, he formed the sun, Tuesday, and the right nostril. With the Chaf, he created Venus, Wednesday, and the left eye. With the Pei, he created Mercury, Thursday, and the left ear. With the Reish, he created Saturn, Friday, and the left nostril. And with the Tav, he created Jupiter, Shabbat. One second. Yes, he created Shabbat and the mouth. So that's the rest of the 4th chapter. Next week, we will pick up on the 5th and 6th chapters, and we'll continue from there. So just in summary, as I said in the beginning, my intention was just to do an overview of the Sefer Yetzirah, and I hope everyone's got a sense of how influential this book is, how so many concepts that form the basis of every level of Jewish thought comes really is based in the Sefer Yetzirah. Very, very, very much. And so we'll end with a blessing, because remember, all of this is in the context of our series, The Mysteries of Creation. Well, the purpose of the Sefer Yetzirah was, in a sense, to reveal what is behind the mystery. What is the wonder? Remember, that's how it starts, with 32 wondrous paths of wisdom. So the wonders of creation, that, in a sense, that's what this book is trying to get to. And when it gets down to it, it's the letters and the sfirot. That is the building blocks of creation. So we all should be blessed to continue to look at the letters and the sfirot and understand that these are the building blocks of creation. These are the building blocks of thought, speech, and action. We went to the 5 places in the mouth where all language comes from. But since we hold that God created the world through speech, so we can see again the importance of the letters. And may we be blessed to continue to see the wonders of creation.